Have you ever felt that you are no longer as flexible, no longer as full of energy as before, or sometimes you wonder how to live longer while remaining healthy and clear-minded? If the answer is yes, then it's probably time for you to discover a secret that modern science is gradually revealing. Fasting correctly is not about torturing yourself, not about starving your body. It is a powerful longevity strategy proven by science. Professor David Sinclair, a leading aging researcher at Harvard Medical School, shared something that seems simple, but it can change how you view age and health. If you could choose only one thing to start improving longevity, it would be eating fewer meals. Eating fewer meals? Very contradictory to what we've been taught, right? We are told to eat 3 meals a day, even adding snacks. But now, a series of studies from the lab to real life are proving the opposite. Spacing out eating times and giving the body time to truly rest is a natural longevity medicine. According to Professor Sinclair, intermittent fasting, that is to say, eating within a certain time window each day, or fasting for a few days alternately, not only helps with weight loss, but also awakens powerful defense mechanisms within the body. Your body in a state of moderate hunger begins to activate longevity genes, cleansing cells, repairing DNA, and even reversing some signs of aging. He recounted that he used to be overweight and sluggish, but when he adopted the habit of eating one large meal in the evening, his body changed dramatically. Not only lighter, but his mind was also sharper than ever. But fasting is not simply skipping meals. The miracle comes not from eating less, but from the period of not eating, when your body switches to defense mode, self-regenerating and repairing. Over many years of research from yeast, mice to humans, Professor Sinclair and colleagues found that most species from bacteria to dogs and mice live longer if they reduce calorie intake or meal frequency. And this is not only true in the lab. Many religious communities such as Jainism in India, Catholic fasting adherents, or those who practice Ramadan, all have the habit of periodic fasting. They also have a significantly higher rate of healthy living after age 70. A notable study from Baylor University showed that just by fasting from sunrise to sunset, in 4 weeks, blood pressure, BMI, and waist circumference all decreased significantly, especially the DNA repair proteins. The key determinants of biological age also increased markedly. But what is the important thing? It is that you don't need to become an expert or use expensive medications. Just change the timing of your eating without spending any extra money. You have started the journey to live longer about what happens inside the body when we fast. When not eating for many hours, the body stops relying on glucose from food and starts producing energy from fat. At this point, 3 important defense systems are activated. They include sirtuins, mTOR, and AMPK, 3 mechanisms that help repair cells, regenerate proteins, and produce mitochondria, the energy factories of the cell. This is the foundation of a long-lived lifestyle. You might think, but fasting is so hard, I get starved. I get shaky hands. Professor Sinclair understands that. He failed many times when trying to skip meals. What's his secret? Drink plenty of water, hot tea, or unsweetened coffee. It helps reduce hunger. And if you're too hungry, a handful of nuts or some yogurt is enough. The important thing is not to give up after the first few difficult days. According to him, after 2 to 3 weeks, the body learns to produce glucose from the liver. It's called gluconeogenesis, and from then on, the feeling of hunger decreases significantly. I have never been so focused and clear-headed, he says. One device he recommends is a continuous glucose monitor. It helps you see clearly which foods spike your blood sugar. For example, he found that grapes and white rice cause high blood sugar levels. Potatoes, on the other hand, are better for his body. And for effective fasting, you don't necessarily have to start by skipping 2 meals. Immediately, you can begin by skipping breakfast and drinking tea instead. After a few weeks, when your body has adapted, extend the fasting window or switch to dinner as the only main meal. This is clearly not easy, but definitely worth it, he admits. Now we understand why fasting can help the body live longer, not only through weight loss, but also by activating self-cleaning, repair, and cell protection mechanisms. Once you've started getting used to eating fewer meals, it could be one large meal in the evening or eating within a fixed time window. The next question is equally important. What should we eat during that time? Because fasting is only half the story. The other half is choosing the right foods, the right way to support the body's regeneration and cleansing process. Professor Sinclair shares something very simple that many people often overlook. The first thing to reduce, or even eliminate, is sugar. Not meat, not starch, but refined sugar, sweet to the mouth but harsh on the cells. You know, when we consume sugar, especially glucose and fructose, they not only cause weight gain, but also paralyze the cell's defense mechanisms, the genes. The anti-aging helpers like sirtuins will be turned off if blood sugar is always high. And more worryingly, sugar also creates AGE molecules, which are the end products of glycation. They cause proteins in the body to clump together like taffy. As a result, skin sags, blood vessels stiffen, and the brain gets foggy. That's why maintaining stable blood sugar throughout the day, especially when you only eat one meal, is extremely important. And you can absolutely do this by reducing sugar. Limit fast carbs like white bread, white rice, soda, bottled juices, but don't cut out sweetness entirely. Professor Sinclair still drinks tea with a little natural stevia, which is sweet but doesn't raise insulin. Occasionally, he still cheats with a small spoon of ice cream after dinner, as long as you don't put all 8 ice creams directly on your body every night. He laughed and said, "I'm also human, not a robot." If sugar is the enemy, then protein, especially from red meat, is an even more controversial topic. Many people believe that eating a lot of meat, especially beef and pork, helps build muscle and maintain health. That is true, but only in the short term. When it comes to longevity, things are different. Professor Sinclair explains that red meat contains many branched-chain amino acids like leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These substances activate mTOR, a molecular switch that signals the body that there is enough protein, so build. When mTOR is highly active, the body will proliferate and build muscle tissue, but at the same time, it stops the self-cleaning process, autophagy, which is essential for cell renewal. If you always eat enough, always have a lot of meat in your blood, your body will never turn on the regeneration mode. Old damaged cells just accumulate. Over time, this can lead to chronic diseases such as Alzheimer's, diabetes, and even cancer. That's why, if your goal is to live long and healthy, gradually switch to a diet low in meat and rich in plants. This doesn't mean you have to give up meat completely. You can still eat fish or a little high-quality red meat on weekends, but instead of making meat the centerpiece, let vegetables, legumes, nuts, and mushrooms become the main stars on your plate. A 2013 study from the Advantage Research Group in the U.S. found that people on a semi-vegetarian diet had about an 8% lower risk of death compared to meat eaters. Vegetarians had up to a 15% reduction, and pescatarians, fish but no red meat, had a 19% reduction in mortality risk, a number worth pondering. Professor Sinclair is currently experimenting with a fully vegetarian diet. Before that, he followed the Okinawan diet, famous for having the highest proportion of people living over 100 years old in the world. It consists of rice, green vegetables, soybeans, seaweed, and small fish. All are simple, easy to digest, and full of cell-protecting nutrients. But the important thing is consistency and longevity, because the benefits only come if you maintain this lifestyle long enough. In addition, he emphasizes that it's not just about eating plants, but also eating the right kind of plants. This is where the concept of xenohormesis appears, an interesting idea proposed by his team. Simply put, when plants undergo stress like drought, pests, or harsh conditions, they release defensive molecules. We have evolved to recognize these warning signals from plants. When we eat vegetables rich in resveratrol like red grapes, red onions, cabbage, our body understands that the environment is tough and needs to turn on survival mode, thereby activating a powerful repair system. So if possible, choose organic fruits and vegetables grown naturally outdoors instead of the large, fast-growing type 7 balls from greenhouses. The uglier they are, the more nutrients they have. And of course, there is an indispensable food group: good plant oils, olive oil, avocado, chia seeds, almonds. Not only are they a source of healthy fats, but they also help absorb fat-soluble vitamins and activate the sirtuin gene. In summary, when you have been fasting properly, make sure that your main meal does not break that effort. Avoid sugar, reduce red meat, prioritize whole foods, colorful plants, and good oils. If possible, eat a Mediterranean-style diet. That is to say, plenty of vegetables, legumes, fish, olive oil, which has been shown to reduce mortality risk by 31% if adopted before age 80. And one more tip from Professor Sinclair. Eat dessert last. Do not eat sugar on an empty stomach. When you end your meal with a little fruit or a light sweetness, sugar will not cause a sharp insulin spike as when you eat on an empty stomach. Now you have the formula. Eat fewer meals and eat smart. But there is another important factor in the longevity journey. Unrelated to diet, which is exercise and the positive shocks that may need to be experienced to maintain youthfulness. Does exercise, cold exposure, or high temperature have the same effect as fasting? When it comes to longevity, that determines the long-term youthfulness of cells. Those are positive stress signals that may need to be exposed to regularly. We often fear stress, but in biology, there is a very interesting concept called hormesis, meaning what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and the human body, oddly enough, develops best under moderate challenging conditions. Helping with hunger, cold, heavy exercise, all activate protective genes against aging. Imagine your body as a repair crew of 5. When you fast, they are called up, and when you exercise, they are mobilized more strongly. And when you step into a cold or hot environment or perform difficult exercises, they upgrade the entire system. Professor Sinclair explains. Besides fasting and a plant-rich diet, positive biological shocks like high-intensity exercise. Cold baths and hot saunas share a common goal, activating 3 longevity gene groups. These molecular switches help recovery, anti-inflammation, and staying younger longer. One typical example is HIIT exercise. That is high-intensity interval training, like running fast for 30 seconds, then walking slowly for a minute. These types of exercises not only help burn fat, but also strongly activate the AMPK gene, thereby increasing the number of mitochondria, the energy factories in cells, and help you have more endurance regardless of age. And if you can't do heavy exercise, no problem. Professor Sinclair encourages brisk walking for 30 minutes daily. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Light but regular exercise also has significant benefits. And then there is a strategy he calls the cold medicine, which is cold baths. Sounds harsh. But many recent studies have shown that when exposed to cold water or low temperatures, the body produces thermogenesis, activating brown fat. This type of fat helps burn calories and maintain temperature, while also increasing insulin sensitivity and improving metabolism. Even studies on mice have shown, when exposed to cold regularly, they live longer and suffer less from chronic inflammatory diseases. On the flip side, high temperatures like sauna are also no less effective. A multi-year study in Finland showed that those who use sauna 4 to 7 times per week have a 50% lower risk of death from cardiovascular disease compared to non-users. The reason is that high temperature dilates blood vessels, increases circulation. It activates heat shock proteins, a group of molecules that help cells repair damage and remove misfolded proteins. Don't hesitate to try sauna or simply alternate hot and cold water baths. Professor Sinclair suggests you might thank yourself after each challenge. In summary, what we think causes fatigue like hunger, cold, heat, intense exercise are actually signals for the body to activate repair and anti-aging mechanisms. And that explains why the world's longest living communities, from the Okinawans to the Mediterranean regions to the ethnic minority tribes in the highlands, they always live in imperfect conditions, yet have extraordinary health. They do manual labor, walk several kilometers each day, and eat simply. Cold exposure is good, and that is an ideal lifestyle for longevity. Actually, longevity. It does not come from miracle drugs, but from simple habits repeated every day. So if you want to start today, remember, start by eating fewer meals but still getting enough nutrients. Eliminate sugar and refined carbohydrates. Prioritize colorful vegetables and plants. Reduce red meat, replacing it with fish, legumes, and nuts. Exercise every day, whether it's walking, climbing stairs, or a few minutes of jumping rope. Give your body a little cold. a little heat to stimulate its self-protection mechanisms. And most importantly, be patient, because small changes maintained long enough will create big results. Professor Sinclair concludes, your body doesn't ask for much. It just needs you to give it the conditions to heal, regenerate, and rejuvenate itself. And most of those things you don't have to buy, you just need to adjust your lifestyle. So, listen to your body. Give it breaks through reasonable fasting. Give it clean fuel with real food. And give it small challenges every day through exercise, cold exposure, and self-love. Hey, if you find this video helpful, please leave a comment about your experience with intermittent fasting or a healthy lifestyle you are following. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, Life Lessons, to not miss the next shares. Wishing you a happy, healthy, and long life at every age.